You know, when you see a master magician wave a brightly colored silk handkerchief, you instantly know you are being distracted.
Right? Because you know the actual trick is happening something else entirely.
Exactly. It's happening quietly, on the other hand, totally out of sight. But what about when a retail app offers you this highly interactive generative AI virtual try-on for a new pair of sunglasses?
Yeah, that is essentially retail's shiny silk handkerchief.
It really is. Today, we are looking past the chatbot and those flashy interfaces to uncover the hidden structural machinery running the back end of how you shop.
Because that is where the real transformation is happening.
So, welcome to today's deep dive. Our mission today is to unpack a recent AI News Digest, which summarizes a really fascinating technology review analysis titled Repositioning Retail for the AI Era.
It's a great piece.
We hear about artificial intelligence constantly, we are bombarded with it. But today we want to figure out how the retail landscape specifically is being quietly rewritten from the ground up.
Yeah, because the core argument in the material is that the most transformative AI revolution in the retail sector isn't actually consumer-facing at all.
Okay, let's unpack this, because the premise is that the biggest revolution is the stuff we can't see.
Right. We focus so heavily on the interface, the conversational assistants, or the augmented reality features because that is the touch point we interact with every day.
Yeah, that's what makes the news.
Exactly. But the source points out that the true seismic shift is happening entirely in the data architecture underneath.
So the stuff we actually see as consumers, like that little chat window that pops up to enthusiastically help us pick out the right size of hiking boots, it's just designed to dazzle us.
Oh, absolutely.
It solves an immediate superficial problem for the user, which makes it a really great adoption tool.
It solves a user experience friction point, certainly. I mean, a virtual try-on reduces return rates marginally by solving a sizing hesitation for the shopper. But from an operational standpoint, it's really just the tip of the spear. The article highlights that these consumer-facing tools completely obscure the massive reality of data-driven decision-making.
So while consumers are occupied with the novelty of, chatting with the AI, what's happening in the back?
Well, the back end is quietly utilizing that very interaction as a data ingestion point. It's gathering information.
I feel like it's like evaluating a massive global logistics company based purely on the paint job of their delivery vans.
That's a perfect analogy.
It's like the paint job might be what the consumer notices on the street, but the actual business is the global routing software, the fuel hedging algorithms, and the warehouse automation.
Yes. In retail, we are basically staring at the digital menus while totally ignoring this hyper-automated kitchen in the back.
Which makes me wonder, does the average consumer even realize that these chatbots are just the tip of the iceberg? Or, are we being intentionally distracted?
I think it's a bit of both. The front-end user interface has relatively low margins of operational improvement compared to back-end logistics. I mean, you can only optimize a shopping cart button so much.
Right. There's a ceiling there.
But optimizing how a product is sourced, priced, and routed, that represents billions of dollars in recovered capital.
Wow. Billions.
Yeah. And that is why the analysis emphasizes that the foundational shift is quietly happening in those data-driven systems.
But personalizing that storefront creates a really interesting dynamic. And this brings us to the first major behind-the-scenes shift mentioned in the text.
The strategic surfacing of products.
Yes. How AI actually dictates what we see. The digital shelves you look at are not just a static catalog anymore, which blew my mind a little bit.
What's fascinating here is that we have moved far, far beyond standard SQL database queries.
Like the old way of searching.
Right, where a search for running shoes simply returns an alphabetical list of inventory. What we are seeing now is the deployment of vector databases and recommendation engines that build dynamic user profiles in milliseconds.
Okay, so explain the mechanism there. If I search for a jacket right now, what is the AI actually doing in that fraction of a second before the web page populates?
It is relying on multimodal inputs. The algorithm isn't just looking at your past purchase history anymore.
What else is it looking at?
It is actively processing dwell time, like how long your cursor hovered over a specific brand's image last week.
Wait, really? It tracks how long my mouse hovers?
Oh, absolutely. It factors in demographic clustering, your click-through rates on specific color palettes, and even your current geographic location and local weather.
That is wild.
It takes all those disparate data points, maps them into a multi-dimensional space, and constructs a unique, ephemeral storefront tailored specifically to you.
To what it thinks I want in that exact moment.
Yes, to the probabilistic model of your current intent.
So it is actively constructing a personalized reality just for me.
Exactly.
Imagine walking into a physical brick-and-mortar clothing store, right? And the moment you step through the doors, the aisles physically rearrange themselves in real time.
It would be terrifying, but highly efficient.
Right. The winter coats just slide into the back warehouse because the AI knows your location data shows an upcoming flight to Miami.
Yeah.
And the racks of blue shirts roll right up to the front entrance because you lingered on a blue shirt online 3 days ago.
That's essentially it. The digital environment is entirely fluid, and it's bending around your specific behavioral vector.
But let's look at the philosophical cost of that for a second. Is this the ultimate convenience, or does it mean we are secretly losing our freedom of choice in the digital marketplace?
That is the big debate.
Because if the algorithm creates this hyper-specific hallway and hides everything else, I feel like I'm trapped in a consumer echo chamber.
So you're only seeing reflections of your past behavior.
Exactly. I'm no longer discovering anything new. I'm just being fed a reinforcement loop of my past self.
Well, the engineering counterargument to that, which aligns heavily with the industry's focus on reducing friction, is that sifting through 10,000 irrelevant items isn't freedom.
It's just a waste of time.
Right, it's just noise. The industry perspective is all about optimizing your path to purchase. By filtering out the noise, the AI technically gives the consumer their time back.
But who decides the utility there? I mean, the machine is ultimately designed to maximize the probability of a transaction, not to expand my horizons.
And that is the double-edged sword the text implies. You are still making a choice, but you are selecting from a highly curated subset of options.
A stacked deck, basically.
Basically. However, the system can still introduce novelty, it's just calculated novelty.
What does calculated novelty mean?
If it detects a high probability of churn, like you leaving the site when you are presented with neon colors, it suppresses them. But it might show you a dark gray textured fabric.
Something close to what I like, but a little different.
Exactly. Something adjacent to your established preferences. It explores the edges of your vector, rather than just throwing random darts at a board.
Okay, but here is where that hyper-personalization creates a massive operational vulnerability.
The inventory problem.
Right, because if the algorithm creates this perfect, customized hallway and convinces you to buy that exact dark gray shirt, the back-end logistics better be able to deliver it instantly.
Or the whole illusion falls apart.
Exactly. Personalization completely backfires if the physical inventory isn't actually sitting in a warehouse to back up the digital promise.
The most beautifully curated digital experience is essentially worthless if the user encounters a stock out at checkout.
It's so frustrating as a shopper.
It is. And this is why the source material shifts the focus from the digital storefront to the physical supply chain.
The text notes that using AI to predict demand more accurately is absolutely vital for retailers competing in this market today.
Because the financial stakes for getting this right are massive. Retail is fundamentally a business of managing working capital.
Meaning what, exactly?
Well, when a company buys inventory, they are locking up cash in physical goods. If they overorder, they pay compounding warehousing costs.
Just to store stuff nobody is buying.
Right. And eventually, they take a severe margin hit by heavily discounting those items just to liquidate them and clear space.
And on the flip side, if they underorder, they don't just lose that single transaction, right?
No, the damage is much worse.
Because in an era where switching costs are practically zero, a frustrated customer simply opens a competitor's app and buys it there.
Exactly. You risk losing the lifetime value of that customer over one missing item.
Here's where it gets really interesting, though. I like to compare traditional retail management to driving through thick fog.
Oh, that's a good way to look at it.
You've got human managers just guessing how much stock to order based on last year's sales, just staring at the lines on the road right in front of them.
Right. Historically, supply chain management relied heavily on lagging indicators. Human buyers would look at linear historical spreadsheets.
Like, we sold 1,000 jackets last October.
Exactly. Last year's third quarter sales, maybe factor in a basic seasonal adjustment, and just make an educated guess about what to stock.
But a human brain simply cannot correlate real-time, non-linear data at a global scale.
It's impossible. AI, though, clears the fog entirely.
Break down that nonlinear correlation for me. What is the AI seeing that the traditional human spreadsheet misses entirely?
Well, a neural network predicting demand isn't just looking at past sales data in isolation. It is simultaneously analyzing massive, multidimensional data streams.
Like what kind of data?
It correlates local meteorological forecasts, viral microtrends on social media platforms, real-time shipping port delays, and even broad macroeconomic indicators.
Okay, so it's not looking in the rearview mirror to guess what's ahead.
No, not at all.
It is ingesting the current state of the world to calculate probabilities.
It can detect that a specific aesthetic trend gaining traction online, combined with a localized weather event in a specific zip code, will trigger a demand spike for a very specific type of waterproof jacket. Yeah, and it knows you'll need them in the Pacific Northwest next Tuesday.
And because it sees that multidimensional correlation, it quietly routes the physical inventory to local distribution centers before the demand even materializes.
It's basically predicting the future. The system anticipates the purchase, removing the latency between the demand signal and the supply positioning.
So it's already on the truck before I even know I want it.
Exactly. The integration into the core of operations, this synchronization of the predictive digital storefront with the physical warehouse routing, is what enables those seamless shopping experiences the article points toward.
It completely shifts the entire logistics model from reactive to probabilistic.
It does.
All right, so the algorithm curates the store through behavioral vectors, and the neural network manages the warehouse through probabilistic demand modeling.
We've got the front and the back covered.
Right. But who is managing the AI itself? The narrative really zooms out to the most structural change mentioned in the article.
This is where it gets really meta.
The text explicitly mentions that AI is actually speeding up the development and deployment of new technologies by engineers.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, this is the metal layer of the retail transformation.
Right.
We aren't just talking about a retailer buying a static software model and running it for 5 years.
Setting it and forgetting it.
Exactly. We are talking about engineers actively using large language models and AI coding assistants to build the next generation of the architecture itself.
So AI is building better AI. Let's ground this in reality, though. What does it actually look like when an engineer uses an AI assistant to build a new retail feature?
Okay. Consider the sheer volume of back-end integration required in modern e-commerce. A retailer's systems need to constantly talk to payment gateways, third-party logistics providers, real-time inventory trackers.
It's a massive web of connections.
And customer relationship databases. In the past, writing the APIs to connect all these disparate systems took teams of developers months.
Because they had to manually write every line of logic.
Yes. They had to map the data fields, meticulously handle error states, debug everything.
Which is incredibly tedious, highly technical work that represents a massive bottleneck in rolling out any new feature.
But now, an engineer can prompt an AI coding assistant with a specific documentation from a logistics provider and just say, write a robust integration that updates our inventory database in real time when a shipment clears customs.
Just giving it instructions in plain English.
Yep. And they can include fallback logic if the API times out. The LLM can produce a highly functional first draft of that code, complete with error handling, in moments.
That is insane. So the human engineer is basically elevated to an architectural role.
Exactly. They become the director.
They define the business logic and the system parameters while the AI handles the granular execution and all that boilerplate coding.
Furthermore, within a continuous integration and deployment pipeline, the AI can synthesize massive amounts of synthetic data to stress test the model.
So it tests its own work.
Yeah, it can hunt for edge case bugs in hours instead of weeks. The deployment bottleneck has always been human coding speed and quality assurance testing.
Right.
By widening that bottleneck, the feedback loop between identifying a business need and deploying a live software solution shrinks drastically.
But doesn't that mean that the pace of change in the retail landscape is going to accelerate exponentially?
Oh, absolutely.
Because if building the tools are getting smarter, the leap from where we are now to perfectly seamless environments is going to happen in a fraction of the time.
Think about how long it took to get from paper catalogs to early e-commerce websites.
Decades.
Right. But now, the gap between technological iterations is collapsing. The underlying logistics, the predictive models, the real-time personalization, all these back-end systems are going to become radically more sophisticated very, very quickly.
Because the friction of software development itself is being systematically optimized by AI.
Exactly.
All right, let's pull all these threads together and look at the whole stack we've extracted from this technology review summary.
It's a lot to take in.
It is. We started by identifying the shiny silk handkerchief, the consumer-facing chatbots and virtual try-ons that sort of distract us.
All fun stuff.
The
Yeah.
fun stuff. But once we looked past the interface, we found a totally transformed back-end ecosystem.
A completely data-driven reality.
Right. We explored how vector databases and multimodal behavioral inputs actively construct highly personalized ephemeral storefronts just for you.
And then we saw how multidimensional neural networks have replaced those linear historical spreadsheets.
Yeah, predicting physical demand by correlating entirely disparate data streams like weather and TikTok trends.
Clearing the fog.
Clearing the fog. And finally, we unpacked how AI is writing its own next iteration, drastically accelerating the engineering and deployment cycles.
It is a complete structural rebuild of the industry, and it is operating almost entirely out of sight of the end consumer.
Which is wild to think about.
As the article suggests, its invisibility is actually the ultimate metric of its success. The goal for these retailers is a frictionless transaction where the technology basically gets out of its own way.
So what does this all mean for you as a listener? The frictionless reality we are hurtling toward leaves me with a final thought for you to mull over the next time you open a shopping app.
I'm curious where you're going with this.
Well, if these invisible AI algorithms become perfectly predictive, right?
Yeah.
If the back end correlates your multimodal data so perfectly that it knows you need a specific item in your exact size and has it waiting at your local fulfillment center before you even consciously formulate the thought that you want it, what happens to the joy of serendipitous discovery?
Well, that's a really good point.
Because if the digital aisles are constantly filtering out the noise to show you only what aligns with your established behavioral vector, will the thrill of stumbling upon something completely unexpected disappear entirely from the shopping experience?
It's a real possibility.
The magician's misdirection is flawless, and the hyper-optimized machine in the back is running perfectly. But I wonder if eventually we might just miss the messy, unpredictable reality of a world that hasn't been algorithmically curated just for us.
Something to think about next time you buy a jacket online.
Definitely. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.